All right, I guess I can take this off. I'm by myself. All right, I thought I better go through and show you guys this. I had some of you been gone and were not here to do the Human Freedom Index, and it's kind of a tough one. So I just wanted to explain it to you. So the Human Freedom Index is just a it's published by Freedom House organization anyway. Oh no, not Freedom House. I'm sorry, that's a different one. Anyway, it's published by somebody, Cato Institute, I think. Anyway, I'm going to pull it up. Oh, it is Cato. Good. Glad to hear that. So I followed that link, Human Freedom Index. There's this PDF. I pulled up this link. I'm also going to pull up this worksheet. Okay. Let me make a copy, of course, and you can do this as well. You could be doing this right now. And if I'm going too fast, you could pause the video. How about that? Okay, so on this, what you're going to do, it's the first page of this worksheet. You're going to go through and look at Human Freedom Index for your Latin American country. And then on the back of it, well, the second page, you're going to do the Asian country. Okay, so I'll explain how this works. So the Human Freedom Index takes it and they look at all the different countries. I'm just scrolling through here. And they rank them. So they give them all a score based on a few different things, and then they rank them so you can see where they're at as far as how much freedom is found in that country. Let's zoom in on that. So you can see here, this is the 2019 one. They haven't done one for 2020 yet. So 2019, number one country according to their scores is New Zealand. So its rank is 1. It's out of 162. Okay, you can go down here. So the other end is Syria, Venezuela, Yemen. These are the ones at the bottom. The US of A is number 15 right now. Okay, again, this is according to their score, and you can see we'll go in and look at it some more. But like here, freedom rank change, we've gone up to our personal freedom. This is a score out of 10. All these are scores out of 10. So 8.72 out of 10 is our personal freedom. Economic freedom, 8.19 out of 10. Okay. So our total score, this is the total score. This is what we get our ranking out of. So they take the personal score, personal freedom, the economic score, just give you an average. It's 8.46. And we are up, what is that, 1,000th of a percent or 1,000th of a point. Hooray. All right. So now what you're going to do is find your country. So I would do Control F and then look up, like, let's do Trinidad, for example. Okay. So down here, Trinidad, it's number 96. It's gone down four places. Much lower score, 6.54, 6.70. It's average 6.62. Okay, it's gone down. Anyway, we want to find it's got its own page, so I'm going to keep clicking through here on the Control F. We're going to go down. I'm not going to worry about that one or that one or that one. I want this one. Okay. So here's Trinidad and Tobago. Now, as you can see here, this is the first page of it. And it's got all the countries listed, and they're just in alphabetical order. Okay, so here's Trinidad, and then this is the first part of it, and then here's the second part. It's 2 pages. Okay, so what you're doing is you want to look and see what its score is. So they're ranked 96. So they're the 96th freest country in the world, according to the Cato Institute. Their score is 6.62. So what I would do is go over here, Human Freedom Index. I would do, it would be a bad idea to put your name in there. It's like if my name was Herbert. There you go. Okay, so countries. We're doing Trinidad and Tobago. Now, Human Freedom Index ranking is 96, right? 96. Okay, score is 6.62. That's their overall score. Okay, now it's got several scores. So this is the overall score. And then they break it down. So then there's the personal freedom score, the economic freedom score, and they take the average, and that's what you get for your overall score. All right. So now we're going to look at personal freedom ranking. So personal freedom ranking, what's the ranking? 97, and the score is 6.54. So personal freedom ranking, 97, score is 6.54. Okay, what specifically drops their score for personal freedom? So let's look this over. You can look through here, and it's now what they've done with personal freedom is they've looked at different categories. Okay, they've categorized different types of freedoms, and you can see they give you a score. Okay, so the first one is rule of law. Now, to figure out the rule of law score, they take these three subheadings, procedural or subtopics: procedural justice. Okay, we're talking about like courts and stuff here. Civil justice, criminal justice. So for criminal crimes versus like civil crimes or civil laws, civil courts, where you're dealing with more like money and everyday stuff. Nobody's going to go to jail. It might be something like a divorce court, or it could be suing somebody because they dumped hot chocolate on your face or something. I don't know. Criminal justice, it was on accident. It wasn't an assault. But you can look at rule of law. Well, where do they have low scores? It's always out of 10. So 10 is a good score. The lower the score, the worse it is. So their rule of law, they don't have, like, their law is not very reliable. They probably have laws, but the court system's set up in such a way it doesn't work out very well. So 4.7 isn't a good score. Security and safety, 6.5. Look at that homicide. You have a 0. That's not good. That means that they have a really low score on homicide. You're probably going to get killed. Okay, not really, but it just gives you that's a bad score. Movement, women's freedom of movement. And the women, it's harder for women to move, apparently. Domestic freedom of movement means like they can move anywhere they want to within the country. Foreign means they can move outside of the country. So they have really high scores there, but women's freedom of movement, for whatever reason, is 2.5, so it's low. Religious freedom is pretty high. Their association, assembly, and civil societies, they don't have scores. It's not a 0. They're just not ranking them at all. Okay, so it's not like they have low scores here. They just don't have anything, no info. Okay, expression and information, same thing here. We've got some scores, but then they don't have others right here. Legal gender, they don't even count that. But same-sex relations, they have a really low score. Apparently, they don't allow same-sex marriage and that kind of stuff. So, divorce, though, you can get a divorce. So that gives you their personal freedom. So what I would do is look that over. Well, the question was, what specifically drops their score for personal freedom? Well, there's a number of things. One is their rule of law is really bad. We've got women's freedom of movement. I can just look at some specific same-sex relations, and so I can do that. I'll type in here, same-sex relations. I forgot what the other ones were. Good thing I can look back, huh? Oh, women's freedom of movement and the rule of law in general, like everything on there, kind of had a low score. All right, in what area do they have a high score under personal freedom? Let's see where they're doing okay. Their highest is under religious freedom and expression of information. Like, can they have freedom of speech, basically? Can they like publish stuff in the press and anything like that? So we'd have, I forgot what they call it, freedom of expression and information. Expression and information. And then we have also religious freedom. Okay, now I'm going to look at economic freedom ranking. So I'm looking at the other side, economic freedom. Their ranking is 91. Their score is 6.7. So a little bit higher there. So 91, 6.7. All right, better check that. Yep. What specifically drops their score for economic freedom? Well, let's look at this. Economic freedom, size of the government. Is the government really big and involved in the country? Okay, there's a lot of things that get a 0 in government enterprises. Legal system and property rights. Okay, do you have property rights? So, like regulatory costs. Does it cost a lot to run businesses? The reliability of the police, kind of a low score. It must not be very reliable. Business costs of crimes. It costs when crimes are committed, there's a lot of costs. There's probably not insurance and stuff to cover things that get stolen, that kind of things. Impartial courts. I can't trust the courts. Military interference. This one I need to research because I don't understand too much what they're talking about here. I think it means in other countries, but I'm not sure. Or just means within them. But we have like a low score on ours, and so I don't get it. Like the U.S. has military interference in our everyday lives. I'm not getting it. Anyway, that's just me. It's probably easier than I realize, and I'm just overthinking it. Sound money, can like you rely on the money there. Money's growing, money growth, it grows, more people can have it. Standard deviation of inflation, meaning like, because money always is losing value all the time. Inflation, if it's really bad, then it's going to have a low score. Like if it, like you get $1 one day and the next day it's not worth anything. That's in really bad inflation. Inflation most recent year, they're doing better. Freedom to own foreign currency. Okay, that means money from other countries. That's pretty high. Freedom to trade internationally. There's some things like, can you trade with other countries is what that means. Are there trade barriers? Okay, movement of capital and people. Can you move back and forth easily? Can you send money to other countries easily? Regulation. How much do they credit market regulations? That's like banking and stuff. Labor market regulations. Okay, business regulations. How much is government kind of regulating? What rules that they put on things? Okay, and so if we're looking at a low score, we have what, 5.4, 4.6. Well, I'd say that lowest one's legal system for sure. Property rights. So I'd say legal system and property rights. Specifically, some that stood out to me were like the reliability of the police, impartial courts. You want good courts that are going to be fair with people. Apparently, they're not. In what area did they have a high score in economic freedom? Is there a highest sound money? It was. So sound money, they have a sound money system. Sound money. How has their score changed over the last 10 years or so? And there's two places I can look. I can look right here. This gives me the last few years. Over time, their score hasn't changed a whole lot. It's gone up and down a little bit, right? This shows you compared to the average. The world's average is up here. So they're below the world's average. This is the region average. That means like the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago's case, the countries around it. Their ranking has gone up and down, but you really want to look at the score. The score is what matters. You can look here again. This tells you 6.81 goes down a little bit, back up, down a little bit, same, down a little bit, up a little bit. So it really hasn't changed much. That's not much of a difference. So I'm going to say, how has their score changed over time, over the last 10 years or so? So slight changes, but overall about the same. Why? Based on these scores, would you want to live in this country? No, I would not like to live in this country because, and then I go through, or I could say you could. I just went with my gut feeling on that one. Well, what is it about their country that, I don't know about that. If you can't rely on the police, that's not good. Legal enforcement of contracts. I make a deal with somebody. Is the government going to back me up on it? If somebody breaks the contract, that kind of stuff. It doesn't look that reliable on certain things. Okay. Anyway, but you would go through and explain that and do specific things like, oh, well, because they have their courts are impartial, or their courts should be impartial and they're not. They've got a bad score on their courts. Their police aren't. Very good. They've got a low homicide score. Okay. And then we go over here. You would explain that. I'm not going to do all that for you. Number 14, explain one way you think your country could improve their score. Okay, now look back. If there's something they could do to do a little better, where could they improve? You could look at like a low score. Okay, government enterprises. You could go and find out what that means. You could go and look at like same-sex relations. If that's something you think is important, maybe if you don't, then you don't want the score to go. That's personal. But if you do, then you try and figure out, well, what could they do to allow more same-sex relations? And then that would up their score, which would up their overall average. Okay, homicide. How could they crack down on murder? Okay, anyway, how could they make the police more reliable? Just come up with a little plan. What could they do better? Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing for the Asian country. So it's pretty easy. Go in and just turn it in. You're really looking at numbers but I want you to be thinking about, what does this mean? What does this mean for people and their freedom? So it's pretty interesting stuff. So do that. If you have any questions, email me. I can help you out. Unless I can't find the stop button, then I'm in trouble. Where is the stop button? For real.